The space station hung against the backdrop of swirling nebula clouds. Its ring-shaped structure gleamed under the light of 3 distant suns. This was Centauri Prime, home of the Galactic Council, where the fate of countless worlds was decided. Ambassador. William Reeves straightened his formal diplomatic uniform as he stood in the preparation chamber. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and eyes that showed both wisdom and determination. As humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Council, he carried the hopes of billions on his shoulders. "Are you ready, sir?" asked his aide, Susan Carter. She was checking the translation device one last time. "As ready as anyone can be to make history," Reeves replied with a small smile. "Earth has waited 30 years for this moment." Susan nodded. "The council session begins in 10 minutes. Your speech is loaded in the prompter." Around them, the other members of the Earth delegation made final preparations. They were a small group compared to the massive delegations from elder races. Humanity was new to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 decades ago. The doors slid open and a tall, blue-skinned alien entered. This was Nalvi, their assigned guide from the council staff. "The council is assembling, Ambassador Reeves," Nalvi said, voice translated through the small device at his throat. "Please follow me." Reeves took a deep breath. "Let's go make history." The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. Some looked almost human, while others were utterly foreign in appearance. Crystalline structures, floating gas clouds contained in special fields, and beings of pure energy. "Remember," Susan whispered as they walked, "many of the elder races are suspicious of us. They think we've advanced too quickly." Reeves nodded slightly. Earth's rapid development of space technology had alarmed many established powers. What had taken other species centuries to achieve, humans had accomplished in mere decades. As Reeves and his team took their designated seats in the observers section, he noticed many alien eyes turning toward them. Not all the looks were friendly. The council leader, a tall being with golden scales named Zenthar, rose from the central platform. "The 4,523rd session of the Galactic Council is now in session. Today's primary agenda: consideration of the human petition for associate membership." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Reeves remained calm, though he felt his heart beating faster. Zenthar continued. "Before we begin formal proceedings, Councillor Zix of the Vexari Imperium has requested to address the assembly regarding the human petition." A thin, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms stood. Councillor Zix was known to be opposed to human membership. His species, the Vexari, controlled several key trade routes near Earth's sector. "Esteemed colleagues," Zix began, voice sharp and cold, "I must speak against this hasty consideration of human membership. Their species has barely emerged from their solar system. Their history is filled with conflict. Their rapid technological advancement is deeply concerning." Reeves kept his face neutral, though he felt frustration building. These were the same arguments they had countered in preliminary discussions for years. Zix continued. "I have reviewed their historical archives. For most of their existence, humans have waged war against each other. They developed nuclear weapons and nearly destroyed their own planet more than once. Is this the kind of species we wish to welcome into our peaceful coalition?" More murmurs filled the chamber, many sounding agreeable to Zix's position. "I move that instead of considering membership," Zix said, raising all 4 of his hands, "we should instead conduct a formal assessment of the threat humanity poses to galactic stability." Reeves leaned toward Susan. "This isn't the agreed agenda. They're changing the terms." Before Susan could respond, Zenthar spoke. "Ambassador Reeves, as the human representative, you may address these concerns before the council votes on Councillor Zix's motion." Reeves stood and walked to the central platform. The chamber fell silent as he took his position. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady. "Humanity comes before you not as conquerors or threats, but as students and potential partners. Yes, our history contains conflict. We do not hide from this truth, but we have learned from our mistakes. He gestured to the vast chamber around them. Is there any species represented here that did not face similar challenges during their development? That did not make errors, suffer setbacks, or engage in conflict before finding a better path? Some council members shifted uncomfortably. We have achieved faster-than-light travel and advanced our technology quickly, not because we seek to threaten others, but because exploration and understanding are fundamental to who we are. We wish to join this council to learn, to contribute, and to grow alongside the galactic community. As Reeves spoke, he noticed Zix whispering to several nearby counselors. Something wasn't right. In the 30 years since we first ventured, beyond our solar system, Reeves continued, we have established peaceful relations with 17 species. We have engaged in fair trade and cultural exchange. We have... Zenthar suddenly raised a hand, cutting him off. Thank you, Ambassador. The Council will now vote on whether to convert this membership hearing into a security assessment. Wait, Reeves said. I wasn't finished addressing the Ambassador will respect Council procedures, Zenthar stated coldly. The vote happened quickly, displays lighting up across the chamber. Reeves watched with growing alarm as the tally grew in favor of Zix's motion. The motion carries, Zenthar announced. This session is now a formal security assessment regarding humanity's status. Reeves felt a chill run down his spine. This was not diplomacy. This was a trap. Ambassador, Zenthar said, please remain at the central platform to answer the Council's questions. As Reeves stayed in position, he noticed security fields activating around the platform. Energy barriers shimmered into existence, trapping him in place. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Zix stood again. The Council has already deliberated on humanity's status. Your presence here was merely a formality. Susan jumped to her feet. This is outrageous. You can't... 2 security officers moved to block the human delegation. The Council has determined, Zix continued, that humanity represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Their rapid advancement and inherent aggression cannot be permitted to spread beyond their solar system. Reeves stared in horror as more energy fields activated around him. This isn't a hearing, it's an execution. It is the ancient punishment protocol, Zenthar stated without emotion, reserved for those who threaten the peace of the galaxy. Reeves looked to his delegation, now being held back by security. Susan, the quantum link, make sure Earth sees everything. Susan nodded frantically, working on her communication device. Beams of energy began to converge on the platform. Reeves stood, tall, facing Zix directly. Remember this moment, Reeves said, his voice echoing through the chamber. This is not justice. This is fear. And humanity will not bow to fear. The energy beams intensified. Reeves felt searing pain as they touched his skin. Still, he remained standing. Earth will remember, were his final words before the beams converged, fully. In a blinding flash, Ambassador William Reeves was burned alive before the Galactic Council. What the Council didn't realize was that the quantum communication link remained active. Every moment of their treachery was transmitted back to Earth in real time. Millions of humans watched as their ambassador was executed without trial. The message from the Council was clear. The response from humanity would be clearer still. War was coming to the stars. The United Nations General Assembly Hall in New York was packed to capacity. Every nation on Earth had sent their highest representatives. The video of Ambassador Reeves being burned alive by the Galactic Council played on the massive screen at the front of the hall. When it ended, the room fell into a silence so deep that breathing seemed too loud. President Elaine Morgan walked slowly to the podium. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that now burned with controlled rage. For several seconds, she simply looked out at the assembly. What you have just witnessed, she finally said, her voice steady despite her anger, is not just the murder of one man. It is an attack on all of humanity. The silence continued as everyone processed the horror they had seen. Ambassador Reeves went to the Galactic Council with an open hand of friendship. They responded with fire and death. They did not just kill our diplomat. They sent us a message. President Morgan's knuckles turned white as she gripped the edges of the podium. They believe humans are a threat to be eliminated. They expect us to cower, to retreat behind our borders and accept their judgment. She paused, looking across the assembly. I say we send them a message in return. The chamber erupted in shouts of agreement. For perhaps the first time in human history, there was no division between nations. Earth stood united in its outrage. The Galactic Council believes us to be primitive, Morgan continued when the noise died down. They think us disorganized and weak. They are mistaken. While they debated our worth, we were preparing for this possibility. She pressed a button on the podium. The large screen changed to show a hidden facility beneath the surface of Mars. Massive shipyards stretched for miles under the red planet's surface. Operation Prometheus, Morgan announced. Since our first contact with alien life 30 years ago, Earth's nations have secretly worked together to develop defensive capabilities. We hoped never to need them. The Council has forced our hand. Images of warships filled the screen. They were sleek and powerful, combining human innovation with reverse-engineered alien technology. I call for an immediate vote, President Morgan said. A declaration of war against the Galactic Council and all worlds that support their action against humanity. The vote took less than 5 minutes. It was unanimous. President Morgan nodded solemnly. Then it is decided. From this moment forward, Earth is at war. 12 hours later, Admiral Catherine Hayes stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Vengeance. At 53, Hayes had served in navies on Earth before being selected to lead humanity's space fleet. She had hoped to command missions of exploration. Now she would lead ships into battle. Status report, she ordered, looking out at the stars through the massive bridge viewport. Commander Frank Wells, her second-in-command, stepped forward. All ships report ready, Admiral. The fleet is assembled and awaiting your orders. From their position hidden behind Earth's moon, Hayes could see the gathering armada. 173 warships, the hidden strength of humanity now revealed. Open fleet-wide communication, she said. When Wells nodded that the channel was open, Hayes spoke clearly and firmly. Men and women of the Earth Defense Force. We have trained for years hoping this day would never come. Our mission was to be one of peace, to protect Earth as we joined the galactic community as equals. She paused, remembering Ambassador Reeves. They had worked together planning how Earth would grow into its role among the stars. The Council has shown their true nature. They do not seek peace. They demand submission. They murdered our diplomat to send a message of fear. Hayes looked across her bridge crew, seeing determination in their eyes. We will send a message of our own. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing the Galactic Council's territory. The Council believes we are decades behind their technology. They don't know what we've learned, what we've built. We have the element of surprise, but only for the first strike. We must make it count. The display zoomed in on 6 key Council worlds, highlighted in red. Our targets are the power centers of the Council races who voted for Ambassador Reeves's execution. We will strike simultaneously at all 6 worlds, but hear me clearly, we are not going to become the monsters they think we are. Our targets are military only. No civilian populations are to be attacked directly. Hayes looked at the determined faces of her crew. The Council showed no mercy. We will show restraint, not because we fear them, but because we are better than them. We will not destroy their worlds. We will show them that we could, and then we will demand justice. Across the fleet, commanders received their specific targets and mission objectives. On the dreadnought Retribution, Commander Jason Phillips studied his orders. His ship would lead the strike against the Vexari homeworld, home of Counselor Zix, who had orchestrated Reeves's execution. Navigation, Phillips called out. Set. Course for the Vexari system. Engage stealth systems as soon as we clear lunar orbit. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez led a briefing for her special operations team aboard the stealth insertion ship, Shadow. Their mission was perhaps the most dangerous, a direct infiltration of the Council headquarters on Centauri Prime. Our objective is twofold. Martinez explained to the 20 soldiers in her command. First, we capture the council members responsible for ordering Ambassador Reeves's execution. Second, we secure their central database. A soldier raised his hand. Ma'am, is this a revenge mission? Martinez shook her head. This isn't about revenge. This is about justice. Ambassador Reeves came with an open hand. They responded with fire. Now they'll learn what happens when humanity closes its fist. Her team nodded in understanding. On the science vessel Discovery, Dr. Samuel Garcia made final preparations for his part of the operation. While military strikes would capture attention, his mission might prove more devastating to the Council's power. The Council has maintained control through information, he explained to his team of technical specialists. They manipulate younger species by controlling what technologies they can access. They present themselves as wise guardians while secretly ensuring no one can challenge their dominance. He pointed to the quantum computer they had assembled. We're going to use their own communication network to broadcast the truth to every world in the galaxy. Let them all see who really rules the stars. Across the fleet, final preparations were made, weapons were checked, systems tested. Some wrote messages to loved ones on Earth knowing they might not return. Admiral Hayes stood on her bridge as the fleet prepared to depart. For Earth, she said softly. Then, louder. All ships, commence Operation Prometheus. Jump when ready. One by one, the ships of the human fleet disappeared in flashes of light as they entered jump space. The largest military operation in human history had begun. The Galactic Council had burned one human alive. Humanity's response would set the galaxy on fire. The Vixari homeworld hung in space like a green jewel, protected by defense stations and patrol ships. The planet's rings glowed with artificial light, showing the advanced civilization that had spread beyond the planet's surface. None of the Vixari noticed the human fleet approaching. Their stealth systems, reverse-engineered from captured alien technology, worked perfectly. Commander Jason Phillips stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the enemy planet grow, larger on the main screen. His ship led a group of 15 warships toward their first target. All ships maintain stealth, Phillips ordered. Weapon status? Armed and ready, sir, replied Weapons Officer Lieutenant Kevin Barnes. Target data locked for all defense platforms. We can hit them all at once. Phillips nodded, checking the countdown timer on his display. The synchronized attack on all 6 Council worlds would begin in exactly 3 minutes. Perfect timing was essential. Remember our orders, Phillips told his crew. We disable, not destroy. The defense platforms, military bases, and shipyards are our only targets. No civilian casualties if we can avoid it. The crew worked with efficient silence. Most were young, but all had trained for years for this moment. Humanity might be new to interstellar war, but Earth had seen enough conflict to make its soldiers ready for battle. 1 minute to synchronization, announced the tactical officer. Phillips took a deep breath. Send to all ships. Prepare to drop stealth and fire on my mark. On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Olivia Martinez and her Special Forces team approached Centauri Prime in a small stealth vessel. While the Vixari and other worlds would face direct military strikes, her mission required more subtlety. Final equipment check, Martinez ordered as their ship slipped past the space station's outer defenses. Her 20 soldiers checked their combat suits and weapons. They wore advanced armor that could deflect energy weapons and carried rifles, designed to stun rather than kill. 30 seconds to docking, said the pilot. Martinez looked at her team. We go in fast and quiet. Our targets are in the council chamber. At exactly 0 hour, their security systems will go down for 90 seconds. That's our window to get inside. What if they're not all there? Asked Sergeant Eric Davis. The council called an emergency session after detecting our fleet movements, Martinez replied. They don't know about our stealth technology, but they've noticed some of their communications are down. They'll all be there, arguing about what to do. The countdown on her wrist display showed 15 seconds. Ready, breach team, she ordered. Dr. Samuel Garcia sat surrounded by holographic displays aboard the science vessel, Discovery. His ship remained hidden near a major council communication hub, its systems linked into the galactic network. All data packets are ready, said his assistant, Dr. Lisa Wright. When their security drops, we'll have access to their entire information network. Garcia nodded, watching the countdown. The Council has controlled information for centuries. They present themselves as wise leaders, but our intelligence shows they've manipulated younger species, started wars to keep potential rivals weak, and hoarded technology. In 5 seconds, everyone in the galaxy will know the truth, Wright said. Garcia placed his hand over the activation control. Truth is the first casualty in war. Today we bring it back to life. Across all 6 target systems, human forces waited for the single moment when they would strike. The countdown reached 0. "Mark," shouted Commander Phillips. The human fleet around the Vexari homeworld dropped their stealth fields and fired simultaneously. Precision energy beams struck defense platforms, disabling their weapons. Missiles hit military bases on the planet's surface with surgical accuracy. Before the Vexari could respond, their defenses were crippled. "Second wave launch fighters," Phillips ordered. Smaller craft poured from the human warships, targeting the Vexari military vessels that scrambled to defend their world. The element of surprise gave the humans a critical advantage. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Vexari government," reported Communications Officer Sarah Lee. "Put it through," Phillips said. A gray-skinned Vexari appeared on screen, his forearms moving in agitation. "Human vessels, cease your attack immediately. You have committed an act of war against a superior power." Phillips leaned forward. "We did not start this war. Your Counselor Zix did when he ordered the execution of our ambassador. Consider this our response." The Vexari's eyes widened. The Council's decision was unanimous. All major powers agreed. Humans were too dangerous to join. "Then all will face our justice," Phillips interrupted. "But today we've come specifically for Counselor Zix. Surrender him to us and we will cease our attack on your military installations." On Centauri Prime, Lieutenant Martinez's team breached the Council headquarters exactly as planned. With the security systems down, they moved through corridors encountering minimal resistance. Most of the station's personnel were civilians who fled or surrendered immediately. "Council chamber ahead," Martinez said as they approached massive doors. "Stack up and prepare to enter." Her soldiers moved into position. When the doors slid open, they flowed into the chamber with practiced precision. Inside, the Galactic Council was in session, with representatives from hundreds of worlds filling the tiered seats. At the center stood Zenthar, the Council leader, addressing the panicked assembly. "Must remain calm and united in the face of this human aggression." He stopped speaking when he saw the armed humans enter. Martinez stepped forward, her weapon raised. "By authority of the United Earth Government, you are all under arrest for the murder of Ambassador William Reeves and crimes against humanity." Chaos erupted as alien representatives shouted and tried to flee. Martinez's soldiers moved quickly to secure the exits. "Counselor Zix and those who voted for the execution protocol will come with us immediately," Martinez announced. "The rest will remain here until further notice." Zenthar stepped forward, golden scales gleaming. "You cannot arrest the Galactic Council. We represent the united authority of 1,000 worlds." Martinez aimed her weapon at him. "You represented tyranny disguised as unity. That ends today." Across the galaxy, Dr. Garcia activated his system. The Council's own communication network began broadcasting data to every world. The information included records of Council meetings where they had planned how to keep younger species dependent, evidence of artificially created conflicts, and secret technology hoarding. "Broadcast confirmed," Wright said. "Every system in the galaxy is receiving the data." Garcia watched as the truth spread across the stars. Let them see their wise leaders for what they really are. Back at the Vexari homeworld, Commander Phillips received an update from Earth Command. "Sir, all 6 primary targets report success," said Communications Officer Lee. "Council defense systems have been neutralized. Lieutenant Martinez has secured the Council headquarters and captured 23 high-ranking Council members, including Zix. Dr. Garcia's information broadcast is reaching all systems." Phillips nodded, feeling a grim satisfaction. "Send to all ships, hold positions and maintain weapons lock. Phase 1 complete. The first strike had succeeded beyond expectations. The Council worlds, believing humans to be primitive and disorganized, had been caught completely unprepared. Now the real challenge would begin. They thought we would be easy to dismiss, Philip said quietly. They thought wrong. The galaxy was changing, the old order was falling, and humanity, once seen as a minor newcomer to the stars, had proven itself a force that demanded respect. 3 days after the human attack, the galaxy was in chaos. News of the Council's secret manipulation spread quickly across thousands of worlds. Many younger species who had long suspected the Council's true nature now openly rebelled against their control. Admiral Catherine Hayes stood before a large holographic display on the bridge of the Vengeance. It showed the current position of all human forces and the rapidly changing political landscape of the galaxy. The Nelvari Confederation has officially declared their support for Earth, reported Commander Frank Wells, pointing to a cluster of stars now highlighted in blue. They've sent ships to join our forces at Centauri Prime. Hayes nodded. The Taurans? Still neutral, but leaning our way. They've allowed our ships to use their supply stations. This was better than they had hoped. The human offensive had achieved complete tactical surprise, but Earth remained heavily outnumbered. For their position to be sustainable, they needed allies. And the major council powers? Hayes asked. Wells touched the display, zooming in on the core council worlds. The Vixari are demanding the immediate release of Councilor Zix and threatening full-scale war. The Duraxians and Helians are mobilizing their fleets, but the Arcturians have called for talks. That was interesting. The Arcturians were one of the eldest races, known more for their philosophical and scientific achievements than military power. Set up a secure channel to their leadership, Hayes ordered. While waiting for the connection, Hayes received a report from Lieutenant Martinez on Centauri Prime. Her team had established a secure zone around the Council headquarters. Council security forces surrounded the complex but had not yet attacked. The human demonstration of force had achieved its psychological objective. Uncertainty had replaced arrogance. Admiral, we have the Arcturian representative, announced Communications Officer Greg Wilson. The holographic display changed to show a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. This was Elder Soral, one of the most respected voices in the Arcturian leadership. Admiral Hayes, Soral said, voice calm and melodious. Your species has surprised us all. Hayes maintained a neutral expression. That was our intention, Elder Soral. You must understand, your attack on the Council has created significant instability throughout the galaxy. Many fear where this conflict may lead. The Council created this instability when they executed our ambassador, Hayes replied firmly. They chose to treat us as enemies rather than potential allies. We responded accordingly. Soral's large eyes blinked slowly. Yes, that decision was regrettable. Not all Council members supported it, though few dared oppose Zix and the hardliners openly. Yet none spoke against it when Ambassador Reeves was burned alive, Hayes said, unable to keep the edge from her voice. For that, we bear collective responsibility, Soral admitted. The question now is where we go from here. Total war benefits no one. The elder races have technologies we have kept in reserve. If fully deployed, many worlds would suffer. Is that a threat, Elder Soral? No, Admiral. It is a reality I hope we can avoid. Soral leaned closer to the camera. I am authorized to offer a proposal. The Arcturians will host peace talks between humanity and the Council races. Neutral ground, with guarantees of safety for all participants. Hayes considered this. It could be a trap or a genuine opportunity. I'll relay your offer to Earth's leadership, she finally said. But know this, there will be no return to the old Council system. Any peace must recognize humanity as equals, not subordinates. Understood, Admiral, Soral replied before the transmission ended. Meanwhile, on Centauri Prime, Commander Andrea Sullivan arrived to serve as Earth's new diplomatic representative. Unlike Ambassador Reeves, she came with the protection of human warships and Martinez's soldiers. Sullivan was a veteran diplomat with decades of experience in Earth's most difficult negotiations. She stood in the same council chamber where Reeves had died, now emptied of most representatives and guarded by human troops. The remaining council members, those who had not been directly involved in the execution decision, watched nervously as Sullivan took the central position. "I come with a message from Earth," Sullivan announced. "Unlike you, we do not burn those who disagree with us. Your colleagues who ordered the execution will be tried according to human justice systems. They will have legal representation and fair treatment." A Helian representative stood up. "You speak of justice while holding our council at gunpoint?" Sullivan met the alien's gaze steadily. "We speak of justice while preventing another murder like the one committed here. But make no mistake, the old council is finished. Either a new order emerges that treats all sentient species with respect, or humanity will continue this war to its conclusion." On Earth, President Elaine Morgan addressed an emergency session of the United Nations. Representatives from every nation listened as she explained the Arcturian peace proposal. "This could be an opportunity to reshape galactic governance," Morgan said, "but it could also be an attempt to buy time while the council races gather their forces." Defense Minister Alan Stewart stood to speak. "Our intelligence suggests the council races are indeed mobilizing, but they're divided. The information Dr. Garcia released has caused internal conflicts. Some younger member worlds are openly rebelling against their former masters." Morgan nodded. "Then we use this division to our advantage. We will accept the Arcturian offer of peace talks, but from a position of strength, not weakness." The vote was again unanimous. Earth would negotiate, but continue to hold its military position. Dr. Samuel Garcia had relocated to Centauri Prime, where he worked to extract more data from the Council's central database. He sat in what had once been Counselor Zix's private office, surrounded by alien technology. "You should see this," said Dr. Lisa Wright, bringing him a data tablet. "We found records of Council deliberations about Earth going back almost 50 years, long before we achieved faster-than-light travel." Garcia took the tablet, scanning the information. His eyes widened. "They've been watching us since our first space missions," he said. "They considered interfering with our development multiple times." Wright nodded. "Some council members argued for restricting our technology, or even destroying Earth before we could reach the stars." "Why didn't they?" Garcia asked. "According to this," Wright said, pointing to the screen, "the Arcturians advocated for non-interference. They argued humans showed unique potential." Garcia sat back, processing this information. "We need to get this to Admiral Hayes immediately. The Arcturians may be more than neutral mediators in this conflict." As peace talks were being arranged, the human fleet remained on high alert. Commander Phillips received reports of Council forces gathering at the edges of their territory. "They're not attacking yet," he told his officers, "but they're preparing for the possibility that diplomacy fails." Lieutenant Barnes looked concerned. "Can we hold against their combined forces?" Phillips studied the tactical display. "In a direct confrontation? No. We're outnumbered and in some areas outgunned, but we don't need to win a total war. We just need to make the cost of fighting us too high for them to bear." Across the galaxy, species that had long lived under Council rule watched the unfolding situation with hope and fear. The humans had done what many thought impossible. They had challenged the Council and survived. More than survived, they had revealed the Council's secret manipulation and shaken its authority to the core. The old order was crumbling. What would replace it remained to be seen. The Arcturian diplomatic station floated in neutral space, its crystalline structure reflecting starlight. Inside the grand meeting hall, representatives from over 500 worlds gathered. The peace conference had drawn more attention than anyone expected. Species that had never before questioned the Council now demanded a voice in shaping the galaxy's future. President Elaine Morgan led the human delegation. She stood tall as she entered the hall, flanked by Admiral Hayes and Commander Sullivan. Many alien eyes watched them with a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity. Just weeks ago, humans had been dismissed as primitives. Now they were forcing change upon the galaxy. Elder Sorrel of the Arcturians greeted them at the entrance. "President Morgan, we welcome Earth to these proceedings. Morgan nodded. We come seeking justice and a new path forward, Elder Sorrel. And you shall have the opportunity to speak for both, Sorrel replied. But be aware, many here still view your actions as excessive. They are entitled to their opinion, Morgan said, as we were entitled to respond when our diplomat was murdered. The hall was arranged with the former council races on one side, the human delegation and their new allies on another, and neutral species in between. The Vexari delegation glared at the humans, their forearms folded in hostile postures. Elder, Sorrel called the gathering to order. We come together at a turning point in galactic history. The old structures have failed us. What replaces them will determine whether we face an era of conflict or cooperation. As the formal proceedings began, Dr. Samuel Garcia worked in a side chamber with Dr. Lisa Wright. They had brought important evidence from the council database that would be presented during the conference. Are you sure about this? Wright asked, checking their data one last time. Once we show this to everyone, there's no going back. Garcia nodded. The galaxy deserves the truth. The council didn't just murder Ambassador Reeves. They've been manipulating species development for centuries, keeping anyone from challenging their power. In the main hall, representatives from various worlds were speaking. Some condemned human actions, others praised their courage. The galaxy was deeply divided. When it was humanity's turn to address the gathering, President Morgan walked to the central platform. She stood where countless alien diplomats had spoken before, but never a human. I come before you not just as the leader of Earth, but as a representative of the newest spacefaring species in this gathering, Morgan began. Weeks ago, our ambassador William Reeves stood before the Galactic Council seeking friendship. He was burned alive for his efforts. She paused, looking at the assembled delegates. We responded with force, not out of a desire for revenge, but because we refused to be dismissed. We refused to allow one man's murder to become the foundation for our place in the galaxy. The Vexari representative stood suddenly. Your species attacked 6 peaceful worlds. You took council members prisoner. You call this justice? Morgan turned to face him directly. We attacked military targets only, with minimal casualties. The council members we detained are those who ordered an execution without trial. And yes, I call this justice. But it is only the beginning. She gestured, and Dr. Garcia and Dr. Wright entered the hall, bringing their evidence. We have discovered the truth about how the council has ruled, Morgan continued. Dr. Garcia will present records from the council's own database showing centuries of manipulation, artificial conflicts created to keep younger species weak, and deliberate suppression of technological development. For the next hour, Garcia presented the evidence they had discovered. Records showed how the council had secretly armed both sides in regional conflicts, deliberately introduced economic dependencies, and prevented promising species from advancing too quickly. The hall erupted in shouting as translation devices struggled to keep up with the angry outburst from dozens of species. Many had suspected such manipulation but never had proof until now. Elder Sorrel finally restored order. We must look forward, not just backward. What do the humans propose? President Morgan returned to the platform. We offer an end to hostilities and a new beginning. Not surrender, either yours or ours, but a fresh start. We propose the formation of a galactic confederation to replace the council, with representation proportional to population rather than technological advancement or age of spaceflight. No race will hold veto power. All will have voice and vote. The second proposal caused more debate, but it was clear many species supported the idea. The younger races especially saw an opportunity for greater influence than they had ever held under council rule. The Vexari and several other former council powers resisted. This would upset thousands of years of stable governance, their representative shouted. Stable for you, perhaps, replied the Nelvari delegate, who had aligned with humanity. For the rest of us, it meant permanent second-class status. After, days of intense negotiation, a framework agreement emerged. The old council would be dissolved. A new galactic confederation would be formed with equal voting rights regardless of technological development. A charter of rights would protect all sentient species from interference. When the final vote came, over 300 species supported the proposal. The major council races, seeing they were outnumbered, reluctantly agreed, rather than face isolation. Commander Sullivan, working alongside alien legal experts, drafted the Galactic Reformation Treaty. It would transform how species interacted across the stars. On the final day of the conference, the detained council members were brought in to witness the signing. Councillor Zix, stripped of rank and authority by his own people, watched from a security field as the new order took shape. President Morgan signed for Earth, making humanity a founding member of the Confederation. As she placed the pen down, Admiral Hayes leaned close. "Was it worth it?" Hayes asked quietly. Morgan watched as human representatives mingled with aliens from across the galaxy, no longer supplicants but equals. Ambassador Reeves believed that humanity deserved a place among the stars. He died for that belief. Now we've made it reality. 1 month later, a memorial was dedicated on Earth to Ambassador William Reeves. It stood in the center of New York, near the United Nations building, a simple stone pillar with his image and words inscribed below. He carried our voice to the stars. His sacrifice changed the galaxy. On worlds across the galaxy, species that had never before had a voice in galactic affairs prepared to send their first representatives to the Confederation Assembly. The balance of power had shifted forever. The elder races had learned a crucial lesson. Humanity would not be relegated to obscurity or subjugated by those who deemed themselves superior. Earth had earned its place among the stars, not through submission, but through the resolve to fight for respect and the wisdom to build peace from the ashes of war. As Admiral Hayes stood before the memorial, looking up at the stars now visible in the evening sky, she thought about how quickly everything had changed. Just months ago, humans were newcomers to the galactic stage. Now they were architects of its future. "We did it, William," she said, softly to the memorial. "We showed them who we really are." The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night. A new era had begun,